Lesson 54 is about parabolas today. This should be a good lesson to kind of get you kick-started for second semester. Um, we are going to talk about how to graph parabolas today, and you guys have been doing this for the last year and a half or so, so this should be a nice little review here. What the book wants you to do is they want you to complete the square. To be honest, most of you are not going to do that. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to use the equation negative b over 2a to find the x value of your vertex. Alright, so if we look at this equation, y equals x squared minus 4x plus 2, alright, we know that our b value is a negative 4 over 2 times our a value of 1, which would give us an x value of 2. Alright, to find our y value, we plug that into the equation. So we get 4 plus 8, which is a positive, or 4 minus 8, which is a negative 4, plus 2 is a negative 2. Alright, that is the most important point on your parabola. You need to find your vertex every single time. From there, our equation gives us some information to be able to do this. We know that our a value is a positive number, so our parabola is going to be going up. Alright, also, we know that our a value is 1 here. Now, one thing that we can do, because that a value is 1, we know there's a pattern that goes on here. We can go over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4. Back 1, up 1, back 2, up 4. If you don't want to remember that shortcut, that's fine, you don't have to. Alright, but you do need to find some other points on this graph. You can make an XY chart from here. We know the first point is 2, negative 2. Use an x value that is just bigger than it. So for example, a 3 here. And then we plug this into this. 3 squared is 9, minus 12 is negative 3, plus 2 is negative 1. 3, negative 1 is right where this other point was. You can also choose a 4 to get our other point. 4 squared is 16, minus 16 is 0, plus 2 is 2. 4, 2 is right there. Then we need to pick some points that are just smaller than the vertex. So if we throw a 1 in there, we know that 1 squared is 1, minus 4 is negative 3, plus 2 is negative 1. Here's that point. And then throw a 0 in there. 0 squared is 0, minus 0 plus 2 is 2. And there is our last point that we got from the pattern. And I'll repeat the pattern again, because this a value is 1, the pattern is over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4. And there's our graph from that. From the graph, we do know, as I said earlier, we know our vertex is the point 2, negative 2. And when we find this vertex, we can also find the axis of symmetry. And remember, that's an imaginary line that cuts right through the middle of our graph that makes each side symmetrical to the other. The equation of that line is x equals 2. Alright, so that's all the information that we can get from this graph to help us to be able to graph it. And they can ask you all sorts of different questions on this. You do not have to complete the square though to be able to graph this. You can go through the process that we were talking about just here. Alright, next one. Y equals negative 2x squared minus 12x minus 8. Now what we do know about this one is, first of all, it's going down because our a value is negative. Alright, then we need to find our vertex. And once again, that equation is negative b over 2a. Alright, well our b value here is negative 12, so we've got a negative 12 on top, over 2 times negative 2, which gives us 12 over negative 4. Looks like our x value is a negative 3 here. To find our y value, we plug that in. So 3 squared is 9, times negative 2 is negative 18, plus 36. We get a positive 18, minus 8 is 10. Alright, so negative 3, 10. Now, we do have a shortcut for this one. Our a value is negative 2 here, so it's not going to be the same shortcut of over 1, down 1 in this case, because we're going down. It's going to be over 1, down 2. Over 1, down 2. Alright, for our next one, it's going to be over 2, down 8. So we'd be down here. Over 2, down 8. Alright, once again, if you don't want to remember the shortcuts, this one's a little bit harder to remember. We can just plug points in. Alright, same thing as we did before. If you plug in one number just higher than it, so a negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Plus 24. Negative 8 plus 24 is 16. 16 minus 8 is 8. Negative 2, 8. That is that point right there. This next one was when we plug in a negative 1. So negative 1 squared is 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Plus 12 is 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. So there's those points. Now remember, since we know our axis of symmetry cuts right through here, alright, we came over 1, down 2 for these 2 points here. What that's going to tell us is when we come back 1, so for negative 4, it's also going to come down 2. So this is going to be an 8. Same thing when we come back 2, so at negative 5, we're going to go down 8, just like we did for this negative 1, 2. So that point's going to be at negative 5, 2. Alright, and then we just do the best we can to draw in the curve there. Alright. And that is pretty much it. We can say what the axis of symmetry is, and you're going to be asked that in your homework. Remember, it is always x equals the x value, so of the vertex, which was negative 3 here. So the axis of symmetry, x equals negative 3. And we found our vertex earlier as negative 3, 10. Make sure you read these questions carefully to be able to know exactly what they're asking. But once again, this lesson is all about using completing the square to be able to solve this. You can do that if you want. I know most of you will not, and most of you are going to use this negative b over 2a way to do it instead, which is completely fine. I will be back tomorrow to be able to answer any questions you guys have.